Hey Applovers, thanks for joining me. Today we're going to go over two main subjects. Number one, what market are you addressing your app to? And number two, what is your app's infrastructure? Before we go into details, I want you to drop me a comment and let me know for you what are the two most important actions that you need to take while developing a mobile app strategy. Number one, what market are you addressing? It's very important to understand this. Of course, for sales and marketing purposes, but also for app development. Why? Well, you could have an app only dedicated to tablets, for example, or you could have an app only dedicated to smartphones, Android or iOS users. So you need to really understand where that market is and where are they behaving, in what environment, so you can apply this to your app development process. Now, it's important not only because of the different size of the devices, because of the different size of the content, but as well of the way the app works. If it's an iOS, on Android, it's different. The content also is an important factor because, for example, on Android devices, you can download content and save it in your external memory card, something that with iPhone users you cannot do. So you really need to understand and deep dive into how you want to communicate to your users and what type of content are you going to do that. And when we're talking about content hosting, it's not only on the device, but it's also on the infrastructure that you're going to have. Because it's not the same if your servers are in Europe and you want to address a market in Latin America, you're going to have a lot of latency, and this is going to cause problem with your users' connectivity when they log into the app. So understanding this is very important. So this is a perfect cue to jump into point number two, which is what is your app's infrastructure? The app infrastructure is kind of the most important thing of your app, because it's basically going to connect all the different services that you have in your ecosystem so that your end user can actually access that content easily and quickly and without any friction. So for the app infrastructures, there's several points that are very relevant that you need to understand. So for example, how many users are going to be actively on your app on every second? This might be something that you have no idea about right now, but it's important to understand because this is actually going to define what bandwidth and what speed connectivity you're going to have to use in order to deliver a good customer experience to your end user. So for example, on daily newspapers, we have a very high peak of bandwidth in the morning when the journal actually publishes the newspaper. So in the morning, there's a very high peak of traffic going into the app. So your infrastructure has to be prepared for that peak. So when a user connects during that time, he's not going to have any message of error or connectivity issue or so forth, so that you can have a seamless transition from app to content for each of the end users. Another example can be where this content is hosted. We talked about this in point one, but it's very important to understand. If you're actually delivering downloadable content, where can you post it that is going to be close from your end user and can have that reactivity and that speed to really access it quickly. So you can use, for example, CDN technology or Amazon Web Service or any other Google Cloud platform. You can use any of those tools, but you really need to see where your main users are and then how you can adapt this. To give you an example, there are companies that have multiple infrastructures depending on the country or the region that they're delivering their service to. So let's say that a company could have an infrastructure for the Americas, an infrastructure for Europe, and an infrastructure for Asia Pacific. So it's important to understand because these are going to be very big costs depending on the number of users and the type of content that you're going to transmit through your application. So to quickly conclude on these 2 points, you really need to understand who you're addressing, where are you addressing, meaning in what region, what type of environment those users are actually living in, meaning if it's a smartphone, tablet, or web. And then based on that, you can create an infrastructure of the application that is going to be sustainable with your user. So of course, this is going to depend on what type of business you're addressing. If it's a B2B business, then a business-to-business enterprise solution, you're going to have to actually speak with the IT department and really go back and forth between your tech teams to understand their infrastructure so they can understand your infrastructure, and then you can find a way to connect the infrastructures so they can share the data or the user verification or the content that needs to be shared depending on the project. So this is another subject. And it's not more about bandwidth, but it's more about how the connection works between the different infrastructures. On second hand, if you have a business to consumer service, then it's a completely different story. You really need to understand when is your peak time, how many people are going to connect per millisecond to your app, how many people are going to engage in the content or download, and then where are these people located, what type of device are they using, and so forth. So it's really important. This is going to depend on your type of business and what application you want to create, but these are important facts that you need to have in account when you're going to work on an app development project. It might be something that you have to address very early on, and then it's something that might switch in the future, because each time there's complexity, there's always a tech leader or someone that comes up with a different idea or a workaround. But it's important to have these people on the table because it's going to highly affect the cost and development of your mobile application. Please send me a private message if you want to talk any subject more in depth. If you have any additional questions, just reach out. I'll be happy to and glad to talk to you. Please like, share, or comment, and keep in touch for the next videos. Thanks again and have a great week. Bye-bye.